This is the Salty and Wired podcast. It's a conversation between two salty and wired dogs who worked in the construction industry and found a connection through the technology space. We are dedicated to sharing ancient tools with modern people. Each episode, we're going to dive into a tool that can help you live a better life. So get ready, buckle up, and get ready to get just a little bit uncomfortable because it's time for you to get salty right now. All right, Ian. I think the digital circle concept is catching on.
What do you
People
mean?
are kind of checking. Well, people want to talk. People want to get together and do some stuff. People are interested in having conversations like you and I have. And they're coming together a little bit more. What are you hearing on your side?
Well, the one thing I always hear is which one of you is salty and which one of you is wired? I'm like, we're both. So I think
Depends on the day.
yeah, well, it depends on the minute for me. I think though, Rob, I think, we're pulling together some people to have some conversations or listening in to conversations. But when we have a live guest, I think we should start every episode asking the guest, are you salty today or are you wired?
Ooh, I like that new tradition. We have a very special guest to actually give that first honor to. Today, joining the digital circle, the digital fire pit ring, good buddy, Rick Kahn. How are you doing, sir?
Dude, I'm awesome. It's Aloha Friday, so happy to be here and looking forward to being a little bit of both salty and spicy, wired, I should
Ooh,
say. Yeah.
maybe like a spicy margarita. That seems to be the new rage when I'm going out to restaurants. Everybody wants to offer that spicy margarita.
Yeah, I got to get that jalapeno fix.
Absolutely. Well, dude,
Well,
thanks for coming to
the
sit.
new term, the new term for neurodivergence, right?
No, what is it?
It's starting to make its round. Neurospicy.
Ooh, I like that better,
Oh,
man.
Yeah, yeah. So we
it
got,
feels more accurate.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because
Wow.
it's not always something bad, right? It's like sometimes we need a little spice in our life. But
Well,
Absolutely.
in a
you don't
word,
know any superintendents who are going to be walking around going, "I'm neurodivergent," but when they're like, "Hey, man, I'm fucking spicy,"
Yeah.
I think it hits. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it.
ooh,
We need flavor, man.
Mhm.
construction's got a lot of flavor, especially on
Oh
the
yeah.
site level, right? It's funny to see how we go to the conferences and people do their presentations and the RFPs and everyone's all, on their best manners. And you go to the site, you want to see what construction really looks like, go to the site because they let it fly from the
Yeah.
field to the office trailer, right? There's a big difference in a field to the trailer to the corporate boardroom.
Yeah. I think when I get wired, the F-bombs come out and they're like, whoop, wait a minute. We're in a board meeting. Where did that come from? I'm like, this is my passion showing up, man. I'm going to be who I am. Let's do it.
Oh man, I was on a meeting the other day and some people started, a professional webinar meeting, right? And some people started dropping cuss words left and right. And someone's like, "Oh, Rob, we hope we didn't offend you." I was like, "You realize the world I lived in for almost 20 years, right? You're not offending me. It's all good. It's all good."
Yeah. Yeah.
But Rick, let's talk about the world you lived in, man. I've known you for a
Yeah.
long time, and I can be open and honest, dude. There's a time I was a fanboy. Like I remember hearing your name, seeing some things on LinkedIn, and then getting to meet you at things like Autodesk University, or there was that fun trip with DeWalt when you made the video game. And there was definitely a little fanboy in me, like, man, this guy is wicked smart. He does some of the coolest shit. How do we even begin to hang with somebody like the one and only Rick Kahn, dude? Talk to us about the journey you've been on and the lifestyle that you live.
Yeah, man, it's been amazing. I've been in the industry my entire life, man. My dad was a mechanical contractor in New York, and as early as I can remember, I was on a job site. We and I cut my teeth learning what tools are, and we lived in a rough neighborhood in Brooklyn. It was, it's called Little Caribbean now, but it was rough, man. It was 20 blocks from Biggie Smalls, where, it was not in the safest place for kids, and so my dad was like, yo, when you're not in school, you're coming with me, and I loved it because I loved watching things go up, watching, the people do the work. And like, my dad used to remind me, he's like, yo, without plumbing, because he was a mechanical contractor, heating, these are just glorified caves, like we enable society to function. And I remember that from a young age. And I was just like, we enable society to function, and I was like, that's what I want to do. That's me, And so I don't know, man, it's been an amazing journey. I feel like I lived a life of amazing blessings, but with awesome curses, and massive adversity that I've lived through. I mean, I'm a brown immigrant, and made it from pipe fitter to C-suite executive, and at the time, the second largest construction company in the country. And I didn't do that by being a tech guy. It was about being an integrator and understanding what value meant to the people that were designing, engineering, and actually building the projects that we all benefit from society. And when I was young, my dad always wanted me to go to school, and he was like, I remember my dad, I was always creative and a nerd, and I was always the guy like people beat up because they were, like I had a big mouth and I was always skinny, and but I didn't give a shit. I was just like, I'll say what is on my mind, and I used to get my ass beat. So like it was interesting, but it also lit a fire under me, to drive change and to be who I am. And I'm in my mid 50s, and I finally, in the last year or two, started to realize who I am and what I stand for and what I want to do and what I'm going to do about it. So it's been fun, man. But I lived I was the early pioneer in the digital world, man. I say, started with Atari 2600 and Commodore 64. I started programming, in the 80s. My dad was like, yo, go be an architect, you're creative, they get paid first. That was his idea. They get paid first, and I was like, yeah, I love design, I love creativity. So I went to school for architecture, and at the same time, when I hit 18, I started architecture school, but I was a foreman. I started being on a job site every summer from the age of 15, like full time. My entire summer wasn't on vacations and some cruise or some shit. We didn't go on vacation. We worked. You know what I mean? So like, and in those days, my dad didn't let me do anything, but he was like, this is what this does. You provide these tools. This is what this tool called. This is what this material is. And then like, it was exciting because like my favorite time of the day was like lunch. And like lunch, what? And it was because like, like it was my first experience with a community of practice. My dad bought lunch for everybody every day. So like 11 o'clock, 10:30, my dad's like, here's some money, go get food for the guys, let's go. So I run down to the corner bodega, in the Bronx, like run in, like, yo, I'm going to get some lunch, get some sandwiches, get some soda, whatever. Come back to the job site, find a clean spot, call everyone, and it was like story time for me because like I was just there listening and watching and learning. And my dad, we started off talking about who we are, like what we do, like most of the guys that worked for my dad's company were from the Caribbean, from Barbados, from Jamaica, from Guyana, from Trinidad. It was a bunch of misfit immigrants, and but like it always ended up into my dad educating us as a unit, teaching us about what we do, why we do it, like static pressure, and being safe, because like I remember like soldering pipe over my head and getting flux, and shit bouncing my face, and back in the 80s, we weren't wearing hard hats, but it was interesting. And it was like, I used to ask my dad, like, why do you buy lunch for everybody every day? Like, and he's like, this is the time for us to bond. This is like, and he taught me like, in order to succeed, we need to help our people succeed, because when they succeed, we succeed. So get that through your head. boy, and it was that kind of like mentality. But starting architecture school, it was wild because at that point I was a pipe fitter foreman. I was running a crew of 3. We did a lot of large multifamily homes, apartment buildings in the Bronx, Harlem, Queens. These were like crack houses at one point that were rehabilitated and like 100 units, so it was like perfect opportunity to learn process and repeating process. Like my dad was like ADHD, man, and like he was like focused, so like we would just do 100 units. And my job, whether it was heating or plumbing, like just repeat process, teach people, repeat process. And it was like we got better because at lunch we were like, what went right? What didn't go right? We didn't use those words, but like, where'd you fuck up? Like, we got to, the air pressure test didn't work in this unit. Why? Why didn't it work? Like what fitting did we miss? And it was kind of like that conversation, but we all learned together. And I was like, I didn't know what it was called, but it was a community of practice. And it was my entry to innovation, because innovation to me is about managing knowledge, and it's about sharing ideas and building upon, right? So, but in architecture school, like in 1993, we were the guinea pigs. It was my 3rd year architecture school. Glenn Goldman at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. He basically set up a digital studio. It was the first year ever. We were competing against, I think, Caltech and Virginia Tech at the time, with this new architecture digital studio. And we were given like AutoCAD and given like 3D Studio DOS version. We were given Photoshop, and we were on the new version, the pre-version of like new Windows 95. And we were told, go figure this shit out, and we had to do our design studies and studios, but we had to use new digital tools, and there were nobody to teach us. The professors didn't teach us shit, right? They were like, here you go, figure it out. I mean, they gave us instruction and focused us, but we learned as a unit, and it was a group. It was like 25, 30 people. We all volunteers, like the guinea pig. Yeah, we'll do it. I was a tech nerd, and we learned, man, and it was amazing. It was like, it was a community. Again, we built our own community, and we were learning. And while everybody was building BAS models and drawing by hand, we were doing that and digitizing, CADing it up, modeling it in 3D, figuring out how to run 3D Studio, man. We didn't know lighting and texturing and, proportion. We had to figure that out ourselves. No joke, man. And we still had the same deadline. So we had to do twice as much work as everybody else. And it was fun. It was my like entry to innovation, because it was true innovation. It was like trying to find new ways of doing the same thing we've been doing for hundreds of years. And it was wild. It was wild, man. And like that put me on my path, man. It was a fun start. And then I moved into architecture after school, worked in that, but I ended up getting pigeonholed. I was the guy who was creating 3D renderings and animations, and I was like, I'm not learning architecture. And I was getting paid shit, man. It was like, 1997, getting paid 25 grand. I went to school for 5 years. I was making more money part-time as a pipe fitter than I was making full-time as a fucking intern architect, or whatever they called me back then. It's like, this is bullshit. This is straight up. I'm like, this business model is broken, and so I was like, screw this. I had a buddy, Jay Lee. He was my Korean brother. We went to school together, and he moved into the computer graphics world with a company called MetaStream. And MetaStream were creating 3D models and working for Hollywood as an overflow production studio. And I came in as a modeler, and they started a new division for e-commerce. So back in the day, it was like Macromedia, Flash. You were rotating images of products, and it was selling it online. Well, they built a XML-driven technology to create 3D models, to make them configurable, animate them, like bring it to life to sell for e-commerce. And my job moved from modeler to basically a technical producer, which meant I needed to document the things our people were creating to sell the product better, document it technically, and then share that knowledge. And I was sharing knowledge across the world. We were using AOL Instant Messenger to communicate with people from Europe, from Asia. It was wild, man. It was like 2000, right? And then I started flying around the world, teaching people the processes that I document. I didn't invent them, but I documented it, and I went to educate people. so they can actually sell the product. And it was wild. It was innovation, but people didn't see it as that. We didn't know what to call it. And then that kind of dried up, after 9/11. I lived through 9/11, which was a major turning point in my life. I was there 10 blocks away when it all went down, and I saw things falling out of the building, and it was fucking people, man. I saw people falling out the building, and it fucked me up. And it was a time where, like, I started to question. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, all this bullshit is happening. And then the aftermath, dude, being a brown immigrant, my name is Ricardo Ahmed Khan. People don't know what the fuck I am, right? So, but the aftermath was crazy. Stuff people said to me, like the experience I had, coming out of the train at Penn Station, being accosted by the military with machine guns, checking my laptops. Like, I went through some crazy bullshit, man. And I was just like, I'm done. I'm out. And I was trying to leave the country because I was like, I'm over this bullshit. And guess what? I was put on the fucking terrorist watch list. For what reason? I don't know. Because of my name, And I was just like, I can't leave the country. So the company I work for got rebranded as Viewpoint. And Viewpoint, we had partners in Asia and Japan. And I did a lot of work for folks in Japan. And I was trying to like move out there, to go support them as start my own company. I quit the job and I was like, I'm going to go do my own thing. So I couldn't leave. And I was just like, man, I can't leave. I can't get a visa. So, okay, I'm going to move as far west as I can. So I moved to Hawaii. I was like, I'm a surfer. I grew up surfing, in Rockaway and, in South Shore, Long Island. And I was like, I'm going to go surf and start my own business. And I'm going to be the middle person between our New York and California office and Japan. And so I moved out there and I started doing that. That was an amazing experience living in Hawaii. I still live the Aloha spirit. I lived in 7 states and 9 cities in this country, and Hawaii and Oahu is the only place I felt like I actually fit in. I belonged. So I still have amazing friends that I still talk to almost every week from Hawaii. Like the whole idea of having ohana, which is friends, their family, like I have friends that their whole family has adopted me, like their kids call me uncle, and it's like they call me up, hey uncle, what's going on, man? When you coming back? And it's like that sense of community, like I didn't experience anywhere else. So, but then, I decided to move and moved to Colorado and found Mortensen. It was my freaking dream job, dude. It was like taking everything I learned, the architecture, the technology, and applying it to what I love, which was construction. I got back to my roots. It was awesome. And I remember Derek Coons, the now CEO of Mortensen, he hired me. He was my mentor for so long. And, we had a lot of good times. But like, I remember in my interview, like, they were nickel and diming me for a couple grand, and I was like, yo, I'm here to raise the bar. And he like gave me a little smirk, and I was thinking in my head, watch me, homie, watch, and that's been that's just who I am. I'm like, yo, I heard no more than I heard yes. And that is just a trigger for me. In my head, I'm like, what? No? Yo, I did my homework. I ain't coming with an idea. I'm coming with a business proposal. If you can't see that, that's my bad. I'm going to go back to the drawing board, and I'm coming back. Your no doesn't mean shit to me. Your no just means not yet. So that's what in innovation, no means not yet. And I'm a relentless son of a bitch, because like you say no, that's just ammunition. Watch me, boy. Watch me. And that's been my whole career, man. And I've lived a blessed time in the industry. I've been involved in so many things, and it's been fun, man. It's been fun. It's been a blast. And now I'm at the point in my life where I'm just like, it's time to give back. I've taken a lot. Man. And I've benefited from multiple perspectives. And now I want to be that mentor that I wish I had 20 years ago. When no one was teaching me how to use BIM and VDC to help improve operations. We were just trying to figure it out. And that's what we have a lot of people in the industry still doing. And it's partly because leadership still doesn't understand how to use these tools to help us improve our operations. That's where I'm at right now, man. So thank you for allowing me to share my story. It's been a fun ride, man, but the adversity has been every step of the way, every year, every neighborhood I lived in. It's been interesting, man. But I'm still saying, I'll just make a quote from 8 Mile, the movie from Eminem. I'm standing here saying, fuck the free world, man, because I ain't done. I'm just getting started. So anyways.
Love that. Well, Rick, I definitely appreciate your story, man, and I appreciate you here. And I know you mentioned Oahu and how you felt at home. Just know that I know this is a digital campfire that we're sitting around right now.
Yeah.
But you have a place here as well. All right, man.
Thanks, brother.
And I figured out where I know you from.
Where?
When I first bought my, I'm going to give it a little plug, Nature Shapes 6-7 fish board out in Long Island. I think I cut in front of you in Rockaway.
Oh,
I think you swore at me, or you called me a kook or something like that.
oh man.
That's also how I broke my nose.
Oh man.
Yeah, I pearled pretty badly out there. But